Welcome everyone to the Lumio December Ambassador-led webinar. I'm your host, Tisha Poncio, Lead of Education and Community at Smart and Lumio. And I am so excited to see so many of you in the chat. We have been backstage watching you say hello or good evening or good morning, wherever you may be. And you are literally from all over the world. So I just want to shout out to Germany, New Jersey. We also have people from Texas and Nebraska and Romania. I'm kind of going through seeing all of you, Finland and Georgia. And we always, Julie, love to see you from Texas. As you know, I am joining you from Dallas, Texas, where it is super windy today, but doesn't really quite feel like winter yet. And we have so many people from Spain this month. I'm so excited to see that in Canada. Shout out to Ashley and Sarah and Shannon in Illinois. It's so good to have all of you come together. And so if you are an ambassador or a user of Lumio or Smart, we want you to know that every month we're going to come together and an ambassador is going to lead you through a lesson and to share their expertise and learning and empower you, but also you are part of this. We want you to share your questions, your comments, your suggestions, and your tips and tricks in the chat. This chat is yours. This is your time to shine. And today I have a really, really special guest. And before I bring her up, I want to remind you of a couple of things. So the first thing is that, yes, this will be recorded. And so if anybody asks in the chat, I would love for you to help me and remind them it will be recorded. If you've registered for this, you will get an email of the recording. And also, if you go to the YouTube channel, which I'll link later, you will be able to watch this as many times as you want and share it with all of your friends and colleagues. The second thing I want to remind you of is that you will get a certificate at the end of this webinar. So every webinar, I will drop a survey link in the chat towards the end so that you receive your certificate for professional development learning. And then the third tip I want to remind you of is that we want you to follow Lumio and Smart across the board wherever you're showing up on social media. You also can follow me. I have put my handle in the corner. It's at Tisha Poncio, and I'm happy to chat with you anywhere and everywhere you are. And we also want you to connect with each other. So if you are ready to find some friends across the world who are ambassadors and community members, go ahead, drop your social media handle in the chat so that you can build your professional learning network. So without further ado, I am going to bring up this month's ambassador, Ashley Martinez, who is from Texas. Welcome, Ashley. It's so good to have you. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Tell me, how's the weather in Corpus Christi, Texas today?
It's actually nice and sunny. It's about 75 degrees outside. So it's a nice day. It's actually been what us Texans would refer to as cold for the last week, which a lot of you from areas around the world would probably say that is not cold at all.
And
but it is
shout
a very
out to
beautiful day here today.
Yeah, I was going to say shout out to Elizabeth Chavez. She is in the chat. And if you are not connected with her, you want to be, Elizabeth, go ahead and drop your social media handle in the chat. She's in Wisconsin, where I'm guessing it's probably much colder than where you are, Ashley. So, wow, 7 inches of snow, she says. This is why I live in the South. Well, let's do a little intro. Ashley, I love to do a lot of fun things on these ambassador-led webinars because you know, and I know as a former educator, teaching is tough. It is a tough thing all the way around. And this ambassador-led webinar is a time for all of us to come together and sort of let our hair down and relax and learn from each other and have a little bit of fun. So what I did is, and I do this pretty often, but I like to ask ChatGPT to do a white paper on the presenter. And so I just asked, like, give me a little intro about Ashley. So I'm going to read the intro and you tell me if this intro is correct and accurate or if it's completely wrong. Okay.
All right, let's go for it.
Okay. So it says today we have Ashley Martinez, who is a powerhouse educator, that's for sure, from Flower Bluff ISD in Corpus Christi, Texas. We also know that's true, and a Lumio ambassador. It says you're a dedicated fifth grade teacher. Is that true? Yes. A doctoral student
Yes.
and an aspiring administrator. Wow. That's a, that's a lot of accolades. Your work sits right at the intersection of heart and high expectations, and you bring a beautiful blend of empathy and rigor to the classroom. Would you say that's true?
I would. That's actually a very good description.
That's an awesome intro. Well, what I would love to know, because today we're going to talk about Lumio and accessibility for all, which is something that is near and dear to my heart. What I would love to know from you, Ashley, what does accessibility mean to you?
To me, accessibility means that all of my students can access the learning material no matter what, right? No matter what their learning capabilities are, no matter what their strengths and weaknesses are, no matter their language, that they all have equitable access and can reach that learning material no matter what. And so that can be very daunting for teachers to think. I mean, you have students of all different kinds, and it's a lot. And so hopefully some of the things that I show you today might make it a little bit easier for you, especially if you're already using Lumio. You might say, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that that was there. So yeah.
Absolutely. I love what you said. It is we were talking about teaching just being hard in general. It is a tough job if you've never been a teacher in a classroom, especially post COVID. I think it became even more difficult, but trying to accommodate for every one of your students at the same time, so simultaneously, is so difficult. So I know people in the chat, you're all teachers, you have education backgrounds. I want to know from you, and I want Ashley to see your answers as well. What does accessibility mean to you? And what are your favorite tools for accessibility? And I'm going to be reading the chat. So even though Ashley's going to present, we're going to come back to some of your responses. So, what does accessibility mean for you? While you are answering that, Ashley, we're going to go ahead and pop your presentation up on the stage. And I'm going to mute myself and let you lead now.
Awesome. All right, so let's get started. While y'all are putting that in the chat, I'm going to go ahead and kind of get started. I know Tisha gave a very humbling introduction of myself, but I wanted to introduce myself as well. So welcome to the session. It's called All Access with Lumio, accessibility for all of your students. I do have my email below, but actually I'm going to go to the next slide because I also have my X handle down there as well. So if you want to connect with me on X, formerly Twitter, right? That's my handle down there as well. So my name is Ashley Martinez. I am a fifth grade gifted and talented math teacher here in Corpus Christi, Texas, which is about 2 hours from Mexico, so very South Texas. I am a Lumio ambassador. I've been using Lumio for about 7 years and have been an ambassador for about 1.5 years. I am a doctoral student, so I wrapped up my master's degree this past May, and I actually just finished my first semester. So, and I am also an aspiring administrator. So that is the goal, to get there. And sharing this type of stuff with y'all is what really drives that passion for me, so that you can take these things and put them into your classrooms. All right, so I know y'all answered that question, and we're going to come back to that in the chat, but I did want to take a poll from you. But first, I want you to join as a student. So if you are able, and you don't have to, but if you are able, I would love for you to join my session as a student. So you're going to go to lumioclass.com, and you're going to enter the class ID 395230. I'll leave that on the board, but I'm also going to drop a link here to that. Did Tisha already? I'm going to drop a link to that. So if you just want to click on the link in the chat, it'll get you there as well.
I tried to get it, but you were faster than me today, Ashley, so you're on point. while we're waiting for everybody to kind of get joining and see, making sure everybody's in there, there's so many good answers to this question. What does accessibility mean for you? So I thought we could go over them really quickly.
Yeah,
Monica
absolutely.
says it's being able to reach all learners and adults. I think sometimes when
Mm.
we say learners, we forget that we mean adults also, because adults are learners. Devin says accessibility means that learners can access information and share their learning in a way that works best for them. I used to say, and I still do, there is a way, not the way. And I find that there are so many rigid mindsets around learning that it has to be a single way. And if you work with any neurodivergent students, you know that their brains do not work like everybody else's. And so I love what you've said, Devin. That's so amazing. There's a couple of more answers here. Liz says accessibility means all pupils are able to access all areas of the curriculum, no matter the challenges they face. Some of her favorites are Immersive Reader, Read and Write Toolbar, and Lumio. Really great answers there. Accessibility means designing learning materials so all students, including those with disabilities and learning differences, can access, understand, and participate. That's the key in the lesson. So I think that's really good. I haven't added these comments to the bottom because I don't want to cut any of Ashley's great slides off. So normally I would pop those on the screen, but you guys have incredible answers today. So Ashley, are we ready to
Yeah.
rock and roll as students?
Okay, so if you are in as a student, I have a poll for you. So I know we kind of talked a little bit about what accessibility looks like to you in the chat, but what I want to know first is which of these classroom scenarios causes you the most frustration when trying to ensure that all of your students can access learning? So if it's time for you, I want you to click and drag a clock in. If it is embarrassment for you, and we're going to do whole class whiteboard here. That way we can put everybody's onto one. Then you're going to, oh my gosh, that is on the wrong spot. My goodness. If it's embarrassment, if you'll do me a favor, and I'm so silly, will you drag the embarrassed reindeer? And if it is missing warning signs for your students, if you'll put that warning button there.
Well, let's just talk about that, because look how accessible that was. We made a little mistake in the design. As teachers, sometimes we do that, but look how easy that is to just pivot so that we can get the right icon, right?
Yes. And so what I'm seeing a whole lot of already is time. Yes, when we get to our students can sometimes be embarrassed by the fact that they need something different. And so we want to be very cognizant of that. And I see some warning signs in there too. So it can be, sometimes you think a kid is learning and then all of a sudden they turn something in and whoa, like they were not hitting that target at all. But when I've had conversations with teachers about making learning more accessible or differentiating their lessons, they always tell me, like, Ashley, I don't have time to do all of that. I have kids in one classroom that are at 15 different learning levels. How can I possibly have time to do that? So hopefully some of the things that I show you today will help you with time. All right, so right now I gave y'all an opportunity to all collaborate together and show without the embarrassment, right? Everybody was able, I don't know who put what where, but I know that I can very visually see that time has the most impact on y'all. Now, one thing I wanted to share too, that's an accessibility tool that we'll look at a little bit more is, let's say you weren't listening to anything that I said, right? You're the kid that's staring in the sky. That happens all the time. And you need to remember the directions. If you click on this speech bubble here, which of these classroom scenarios causes you the most frustration when trying to ensure all students? Right, I have recorded myself giving the directions to the students, so if they need it again, they don't have to have that embarrassment of, Miss Martinez, I wasn't paying attention. Can you tell me the directions again? I have it there for them. And I can also use the immersive reader tool, but I'll actually show you all that a little bit later, as I wanted to showcase that somewhere else. But you can record on any items, any text, even the whole entire page if you want to do recording. So now that I see time is a big deal, let's look at a lesson example. So in this lesson, my students are learning about inferencing. You'll notice I have a speech on the whole entire page. So if you see that we've got the little guy speaking here, that means that I have put speech on the entire page. Today we will continue to practice inferencing. Read the directions and then read the passage. You will be writing down what you infer the gift to be. You can do this by typing, drawing the picture, or selecting an image. All right, so I've pre-recorded those instructions. So whether it's that my student needs to listen to them again for clarification, maybe they weren't quite paying attention, maybe I have my whole entire lesson on a student-paced mode. They have opportunity to listen to those instructions direct from me as their teacher. I can emphasize on whatever I need to emphasize. Now, speaking of student pacing, I mentioned that, what if the kids are actually working through this lesson on their own? Right now, you're in a live lesson. So when I move the slide, it moves for you. But if you ever wanted students to have the opportunity to work through the lesson at their own pace, you can actually click on these people here and just toggle it over into student lesson pacing. So now if you're in as a student, you'll notice that your arrows on the bottom left-hand side will let you progress through the slides. Now, I'm going to shoot us back into teacher mode because we have some things we're going to cover together, but you can do that at any time throughout your lesson. So I have recorded directions on here, right? That's accessible to my students to have. I also recorded the directions here, but I noticed a bunch of you in the chat said that one of your favorite accessibility tools was Immersive Reader. Did you know that there is Immersive Reader on Lumio? Right? And if you didn't, hopefully you're like, oh my gosh, tell me more. So in the toolbar right here, mine looks a little bit different than yours as a student right now, but in the toolbar, you should have an Immersive Reader icon. Tisha, will you actually switch over into the student view from yours? I know you're joined as a student, so we can kind of see what that looks like on the student part.
Okay, this will be fun. You know what? I love doing these with you guys because you guys are like, you can just flow. So hold on, let me share my screen. Let me be
from the students. That way, you know what that looks like for them.
Okay, hold on. Let's make sure. Okay.
Now, again, with everything, you're going to have to teach your students how to use it, right? It's not going to,
okay.
It's not innate to them. So Tisha, as a student, will you click start?
Yes.
And then in Tisha's toolbar, she has a variety of things, right? I want her to make an inference about what the Christmas present is based on the information that she's given. So she can draw a picture, she can type it out with the text box. She can even go into the images and select an image of the present that she thinks it is, but she hasn't read it right. She hasn't read it yet. So Tisha, will you actually click on the Immersive Reader tool?
Can you hear that?
No, on the Immersive Reader one in the toolbar.
Oh, sorry. Hold on. This is you're getting the real version of Tisha as a student, Miss Martinez, because did you see what I did? I want to click all the buttons and I want to do all of the things. And so remember when Ashley said you can take it from student pacing to whole teacher guided, teacher pace. Okay. Are you ready?
Yes. Okay. So click on the Immersive Reader on the toolbar underneath.
Oh, sorry. Right here. I'm here with you. I'm ready.
So when a student clicks on that, you'll notice that it made all of the text into Immersive Reader. Now, once they click on it, this is the same Immersive Reader that you're going to see anywhere else, right? Whether you're in Google Docs. Now, does anybody not know what Immersive Reader is? Maybe you haven't used it yet. Will you drop that in the chat just so that I can see kind of your experience with that?
I think this is a great, I love that we're stopping here. And yes, I was the learner. I wanted to touch all the buttons, Ashley. And so if you noticed, even me as an adult learner, I wanted to touch all of them before I actually got to Immersive Reader because I knew Immersive Reader was going to read everything to me. And so I think that's a really important piece. But Immersive Reader is one of the best tools, and it is built into so many different ed tech tools that you're using out there, including Lumio. So Daniela says she's brand new to Lumio, so Immersive Reader is new to her. So Ashley, can you give her like a 30-second like elevator pitch on Microsoft Immersive Reader?
Right. So Immersive Reader is going to give you a whole lot of different options, from sounding out the words to vocabulary to translating text. So I'm actually going to have Tisha model this for us. Tisha, if you will. So she clicked on Immersive Reader and you'll notice that her screen has changed. At the bottom, she has a play button. So if she just wants it to be read to her, that's that. She can click play and it will start to play it for her.
Yes.
However, there's a lot of settings that she can change. She can change the text size, the font, the color.
This is really important for your dyslexic students. I wish I had this long ago, early in my career, because this is so powerful. I think sometimes we forget that the text and the color really make students struggle. And I just,
Yes.
This is a fabulous tool. Okay, so there is that. And I can also increase spacing, which I love.
Yep.
So
right,
you
so
can see that.
all the visual edits. Now, when you click on that second one there, okay, this one my reading teachers think is just the funnest thing ever. They can turn on syllables, right? So if you're a lower level teacher, or maybe you're a dyslexia teacher that you're breaking apart the words, it'll actually do that for them. One thing that's really cool is it will actually highlight the different parts of speech too. So let's say, my lesson is on inferencing, but this week we've been focusing on adjectives. Well, let's go on and highlight all those adjectives so that we can see those and talk about what they're describing, right? I can turn it all on, I can take it all off. Now, this is on at the student's discretion, okay? So if you're like, as a teacher, can I turn off those options? No, you cannot.
This is what I was going to say. I have talked about this a lot, and it's just because, one, I'm a neurodivergent. I have a son who is, I'm not afraid to tell you publicly, he has a 504 plan because he's a childhood cancer survivor. One of the things that I talk a lot about is giving students the autonomy to accommodate for themselves. And this is a great way to do this with your guidance, because eventually they're going to go out into the world and you're not going to be there to guide them. So having them do this is so powerful.
And I would definitely recommend the first time you give this to a student, it's in a small group, and you let them play with those settings, so that by the time you're in a lesson and you want them to actually focus on the lesson, they've had that time to get it out of their system and they know what they do and do not want to turn on. Okay, now the last setting menu that Tisha's in is choose a language. Okay, we have people in this session right now from all over the world. So I'd imagine that you service students with all different languages. Here in South Texas, I typically service students with if there's English second language, that means that typically their first language is Spanish, which I know a good deal of Spanish. I grew up in South Texas. What I don't know is anything else, right? So last year I got a student that his first language was Arabic, and I did not know anything, right? And so I couldn't even begin to access him at that level. And so using these tools, he was able to change it into, and it even has the different dialects depending on where you're at. And you can do it just by word or by the whole document. So I like that you have by word toggled on. Will you turn just by word? Turn off the document. Okay, so let's say I have a student that is advanced in English, but sometimes some words just confuse them a little bit. And so when I click on that word, it's going to give it to me in my native language that I've selected, and then even also show me pictures as well.
Yeah, this is such a powerful tool, Ashley. It makes me so happy. Now I have to figure out how to, I don't know how to get out of it now.
You can just click on the back onto where the menu was at in the top right.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
The dark.
Okay, there we go.
Let's turn off Arabic. So let's say your student does speak whatever your native language is. They don't need anything translated. So if you'll scroll back up to the top and just click back on, there we go. So I don't need it translated into anything. It already is in English, but let's say my student is reading this and they don't know what the word rat means, right? It'll read it to them, and it will also show them pictures because I have that picture dictionary turned on. So they still have a level of accessibility there too, even though English is their first language. It can be read to them. They can see a picture so that they understand what it means. So lots of different ways to access. And really and truly, it's up to the student. What do they need and what do they not need? I love what you said about letting the students decide, because sometimes as educators, we want to say, like, I think they need this accommodation and this accommodation, this accommodation. And then
Mm-hmm.
we really start to use it with them, and we're like, oh, they didn't need that, or that confused them more, right?
Do you
And
know
so
what
you
I
don't want to
saw in
do
the
that.
chat? We're talking about students, but Monica pointed out earlier adult learners too. And Cornelia
Yes,
says that
absolutely.
she doesn't know English very well, but so she finds it so interesting that she can have her computer or her lesson in Lumio actually read the text to her as well. So it really is bringing together all of your students, no matter their language, no matter their skill level, no matter their accommodations. And that is what is so beautiful about Lumio, because you're creating a culture of community just by using Lumio for your lessons. Okay, Ashley, I'm going to
Exactly.
give
Yep,
you your screen back.
perfect. Okay, so speaking of, immersive reader, I wanted to show you all that just because there's so many things, right? And I would really highly encourage that, like, you go and play with it. And you go and see what there is so that you can help your students access it. Immersive Reader is a Microsoft tool, so it's something that's embedded into Lumio. It's not something that Lumio made, but it is there for you. Now, there's a couple of caveats in Lumio. You have to type the text into your Lumio lesson. So if you have a PDF that you upload into Lumio, it won't make that into Immersive Reader. So just be aware of that. So when I made this slide, I actually copy pasted the text onto the slide within Lumio. So that's a caveat there. I know Lumio is working on, the last time I talked to them about it, trying to work with the coding so that it will take the PDF, but I think it's more complex than you would think it'd be. I don't do the coding stuff, so I don't know. Now, another thing that I want to show you is, has anybody ever seen Open Dyslexic font? If you haven't, this is what it looks like. It is one of the fonts in Lumio. So when you're creating your lesson, if you know that you have students that they like the way that this looks, now I'll tell you, I can't read this very well, but I have students that love this, and I have teachers that I work with that love this. I would highly encourage you to make a second copy for your students that are dyslexic so that they can access it with that font, if that is something that they like. It might be something that they say, no, I do not like that font whatsoever, but it is an option there as well. Okay. Before I go to that, actually, just because we were talking about embeds, so Immersive Reader is embedded into Lumio through Microsoft. There are several other things that are embedded into Lumio that I really love as a teacher that help my students out. And so FET is a third-party embed that can be put into your Lumio lessons, and they are interactive. It's typically math and science, I will tell you that, but they are interactive different labs and explorations that your students can use. So if you're joining as a student right now, you can see my screen on the StreamYard, and I'll play with it to show you. But as a student, you can actually click around and play with it. So let's say, for instance, I am teaching my students for the first time about integers, right? Positive and negative numbers. And some of them, they just don't get it, right? And so in this instance, I can take my person, and I have a number line here, right, from 0 to 100 and then down to negative 80. If I'm in a positive range, I'm flying, but when I come into a negative range, that's where the person is swimming. So it gives them just kind of like a real life access to positive and negative. They can make it into a bird, or also a flying fish as well, that will show them they're flying, right? But you can also change that too, right? I have money. My jar is getting larger. My jar is negative. It's red. Oh no. Right. So they can see that, just that, like, real life,
This is so fun.
rather than just a number line.
Yeah, you're the first ambassador since we've started these ambassador-led webinars to really showcase that. And what's interesting is that TCA this last year, we had a lot of Texas educators who were coming by the booth talking about FET and how it was helping students prepare for their assessments. And as you can see, your students, all students, I always say, if you meet your neurodivergent learners, adults or students, in your classroom. You're going to meet everybody. The visual aspect of this is so helpful. And the fact, again, Ashley is giving us the ability and autonomy to kind of move things around and go at our own pace and have discussions about it. I think just even this, right? Doing this all together as a class is so helpful. Monica says the interactivity is amazing. It really is.
And PhET has a huge library to choose from, so I would highly recommend that you use the search or the filter tool to pull from, but it has some really great things. I did want to share with you my favorite one that my students are using right now is the arithmetic PhET. Like I said, I teach fifth graders and I have 2 GT classes, but I do also have gen ed and special education students. And I don't know about you, but my students do not know their math facts. And so one thing that I've been building in is I put the arithmetic in as sometimes it's their warm up or sometimes it's just if they're done with their assignment, extra math. So they get to choose their level, right? So I have my higher achieving students, they're choosing the higher level, my lower achieving student, just kind of depending on where they're at.
This is actually really great for feedback and reflection from your students starting off, because I'm sitting here going,
yes.
Would I even be able to click that button on the right? Probably not.
Right? Now, what I love about this is I originally, when I was a little bit more low tech in the classroom, like I had a dry erase multiplication chart that they would fill in. But if they got it wrong when they were doing it and I wasn't right there hovering over them, then they got it wrong. This is self-checking. So if I say 1 times 6 is 5, nope, it's not. Let's try that again, right? So they're not going to build that math fact incorrectly. So that's just one that I wanted to share that's been one of my favorites. If you teach students, whether it's the littles or the bigs, and they need practice on math facts, give it to them, right? I have a first grader, and he is in gifted and talented. He started his multiplication facts already. And so this would, even this one would be a good one for him. He might not be able to do all of them, but we can work through it together. And like I said, it's going to be self-checking.
Okay, I'm going to age myself. So some of you watching, you're going to know when I say what I'm about to say, and it's not going to be Ashley, but I see some of you out there who are probably my same age. This is way better for students to learn multiplication, especially your neurodivergent learners. I struggle with numbers. And so it's much better than doing your speed tests on a worksheet
I did those too.
for a times table. And I'm telling you, it gave me so much anxiety because I was so focused on what everybody else was doing. Again, ADHD, I was very distracted. So I didn't learn it probably in the best way. This is fantastic. Do your students actually wear headphones when they're doing this individually?
They either do or I tell them to mute it because I don't want to hear the bing and just
Absolutely.
It gets a little bit crazy. And one thing, and you might like this as a teacher and you might not, is that it is randomized. And so it is teaching them the recall of the math facts rather than just going 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 4, 6, 8. They are doing a little bit more recall because it is randomized. As you can see, it's going to go to different ones there for me. Right now I have 4, check. I mean, it's going to go somewhere totally different.
Ashley, I'm going to ask you something that is unscripted. But we have a question in the chat, and I want you to kind of speak to this a little bit, and we can show them in a minute. But are these games ones that you created, or did you access these in Lumio?
I did not create these. I do not have enough time in my life to create something like that. I wish I could say I created that because it's very cool. No, these are games through a company called PhET that Lumio has an embedded feature in. And so at the end of the session, before we kind of close out, I'll actually go into edit mode like I'm a teacher creating a lesson and show you where to find those so that whenever you're out there playing with it, you know where to go. But yes, I wish I made that. I mean, I would feel very, very techie if I made that. I'm techie, but I don't know that
you are techie. You are. Listen, I put a link in the chat so that those of you new to PhET can actually go to their website. But I'm also going to drop a YouTube video that's very recent that Mish did called Experiment, Explore, Engage, Experience PhET in Lumio. And she's going to walk you through that as well. But if we have time, Ashley will also do that for you while you're
Perfect.
here.
Okay, so those were third-party things. Now, this is a manipulative from Lumio, right? This is in the Lumio library, and I'll show you where to access those later as well. And so in this, let's say my kids are working on their sight words or their spelling words, or I'm a dyslexia teacher and I'm having them do things. It really, whatever it is, right? And so you'll see we have the whole alphabet, and it even has our vowels, a different color. It has our blends and our endings. And so my students can go and they can manipulate those. I have no idea what I was spelling there. Fern. They can manipulate those. And what I like about the manipulatives within Lumio is that it does not bypass it. It is very important for kids to put hands on materials, but sometimes we just don't have the materials, or they're being used by a different teacher, or I know my one class really can't handle the hand-on materials, or they get everywhere, and it becomes a mess. So this just gives them a different way to access it. Let's say maybe the student is a homebound student that's medically sensitive and they're learning from home, so they don't really have all of the hands-on materials. You can still give them access with some type of manipulative. Now, I'll show you later. The amount of manipulatives in Lumio is overwhelming. I'll tell you that. So also use the search and filter. But there are so many different manipulatives out there for so many different things in the Lumio library. I wanted to showcase one for littles too, because I know my expertise is in 5th grade, and so that's where I try to tend to. Now this is one that is, again, a manipulative from Lumio that I recently used in the classroom. Recently, my students were doing fraction multiplication, and so we would talk about, like, let's say 1/3 times 4. I have 1/3 times, right, once and twice and 3 times. And I don't have room, so that tells me I have 1 whole and 1/3. And then we would actually work out the math for that as well using the arithmetic. So this just gave them another visual to see. And so when we were just doing the math, they were like, oh, okay, right? But then when we showed this visual, I see it now, right? So there's so
It's
many
that
different ways that you can
component,
show. Now, I
right?
don't have it to where you can manipulate it right now. So one thing I want to showcase to you as a teacher, if you ever make your lessons in Lumio, I'll tell you this happens to me all the time. I forget to put it into student handout mode, and so my kids can't touch it right now. So if you're joined in the lesson as a student, you can't mess with the fraction bars right now. That is such an easy fix. You don't have to leave your lesson or anything like that. If you click on the people, you can just click individual handout right here. It says convert this page. And now if you're in the lesson as a student, you have access as a teacher. I can also, from my end, see, sorry, Becky, I'm going to call you out, right? I can see what Becky's doing. Now, Becky has what I originally put up there because it was in teacher mode. But if Becky slides anything onto hers, I'm going to see that she's on task with whatever it is that we're doing. Will you slide one on there for me? Look, see there, Becky's taking them away because she's going to do a different problem, right? And I can scroll through my students and see what is it that they're working on, so that I can make sure that they're on task. It will also capture all of this data at the end. I can run it into a report. Maybe this is a graded assignment that we're going to do.
Actually, that's a great segue because Amber, shout out Amber for your question. She asked, do you get the reports from FET activities as you do the Lumio activities?
So FET, no. Because it's just an embed in there, you don't get the report. If you've ever done FET through their website, that works a little bit differently. But no, you don't. Now, all of the Lumio activities, yes, right? So this activity at the end, if I ran a report, I'd be able to see what everybody did on their things. If I run quizzes or polls or anything like that within Lumio, those will show up in the reports as well. So that is a really good question. For me, that's just FET is more so used as a way just for my students to really manipulate and move, but get that lifetime check, because it is computerized and not just a manipulative that they're moving around like this one is. That's a good question. Okay, So I did want to talk to you about a couple other tools that I use for differentiation, and specifically, we're going to talk about AI. Okay, all the rave, right?
It's like the
AI.
word of the year, right?
The word, I don't know, it's the word of the last 3 years,
Actually,
it almost feels like.
and all of you listening, the word of the year is actually 6-7. I
Oh
know if you're a
god.
teacher, you know, but my son is 16 and his friends, they say it all the time. And one day it came across my feed that Webster's Dictionary called it the word of the year, and they were so confused because they said it's
Oh
not
my god.
actually a word.
They've made it one for
They
sure.
made it
My
a word.
3-year-old says it, so there is that. So there are some AI tools for differentiation within Lumio. So when you're in Lumio, and I'll show you this kind of live as well, but I did add a little snippet here. There is Lumio AI Assist. Now, AI Assist is used for a couple of different activities, and those are response, game show, monster quiz, speed up, and team quiz. And I'll say if you've had your kids do those, they're all quizzes, they're just gamified quizzes. But if you want to use Lumio AI Assist, it is in there. So, what is AI Assist, Ashley? I'm glad you asked. So, in AI Assist, I can change. We have the loudest bells to switch class. I can change the type of question from multiple choice. I can select the grade level, the amount of questions. I can change the language. And then I type in my topic or prompt. And at the bottom, and I'll show you that later since this is a stagnant image, you can actually select the level of difficulty that you want. So do you want beginner level, intermediate, advanced, or one of the options is even a mix of those things? And I can generate questions, a couple questions at a time. I can delete anything. So that's a really cool tool that I've been using for about a year now. It's been live. It was in beta last year, and I was using it in beta. It's not anymore. So that's really cool. And then one that is new is AI Lesson, and that is it will create the whole lesson. I will be honest, I'm still toggling with that a little bit. It is a new feature, but if you're up for it, give it a try and see what it can give you. And I'll show you all those in a little bit too whenever I get out of the student pacing mode. But I also wanted to show you, I know Magic School is not a Lumio tool, but I often
But it's an
app
app
smash.
smash.
Yes, right?
Yes.
So there's some things that Lumio just doesn't do. And as teachers and educators, our job is to have a toolbox of what can I use for what. And so I know what I can use Lumio for in regards to AI, and I know what it doesn't do, right? It doesn't level text for me, for my student that's a struggling reader. It'll translate an immersive reader, but let's say I want to translate something different for a student, maybe in one of the games that I'm playing, it doesn't do that. It doesn't scaffold text. So um, I do use Magic School a lot as an app smash with Lumio, whether that's to build a lesson or a game or level something, or I do a lot of UDL projects with my students as well. So I did want to mention that I will be honest, I do use a lot of Magic School, and I take that information that it gives me in its output and I embed that into my Lumio lessons as well. So, and honestly, I use the free version of Magic School. It's pretty great. So you don't have to do the paid. Okay, so before I go in, I'm actually going to end the teacher lesson. So if you'll just follow me on StreamYard, I want to show you how to access these things. So in my library, at the top, right, I've got my name, and I can press the plus sign for new button. Here's where that AI lesson lives. So if you want it to generate a whole entire lesson for you using AI, you'll select that and it'll have you put in your learning objective. Now, if you're new to using AI, I always relate it to Google. The more things I type into a Google search, the crazier my response is, right? The output just is no longer what I'm looking for. AI is the opposite of that. The more specific you are in your AI, like when you're typing in what you need it to do, the better of a job it's going to do. You're coaching it to do the right thing. So that Google response, right? If I'm looking for something specific, the more specific I am, it gets crazy. That is not the case with AI. Be as specific as you can so that it can really understand what it is that you need. So this will actually create an entire lesson. It takes a little bit to do, so I'm going to exit out of that. But let's say I am making a new lesson. I want to show you where to find all those cool things that I was telling you about. So this is always the menu for creating a lesson in Lumio. Always, always, always. It doesn't matter if I have 50 pages in my lesson. When I click add, this is the menu. And so you'll see in the top left, I have a place to import resources. So if I'm uploading a PDF or an old PowerPoint or Google Slides, I have my Google Drive embedded into my Lumio, so I can actually select things from there. One of my favorite things, I can actually pull things from my old Lumio lessons and put them into my new one. I use that for my table of contents for my math journal.
That's
Every week
so
I pull
cool,
it
right?
over into the next one.
Because
Yeah.
then you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but you're still creating, right?
Yes, exactly. Um, and my team also shares Lumios with each other. So if I get, a Lumio from another partner that I like a couple of things of it, maybe not the rest, I can add those couple of things in without having to go through and delete everything. So that is very nice. Now, right underneath the import, or right next to it, I'd actually say there is a search. Now, this will search the entire Lumio library, excuse me, and that's other people's lessons they have created, Lumio lessons that the Lumio team has created, manipulatives, worksheets, graphic organize. I mean, literally everything that Lumio has to offer. But we'll get a little bit more specific down below. So right underneath, we have YouTube, Desmos, FET, and embedded content. So these are all embedded things from a third party that you can put into your lesson. So that's where I got those FET things from. If you click on FET, it's going to take you into a library of their things. And like I said, there's 120 results. So instead of scrolling through all of those, I might want to say, like, I'm looking specifically for things about fractions. And it's going to show me everything about fractions so that I can select the best thing that I need for my students. I will tell you, if you are an outside FET user, not every single FET simulation is in Lumio, so just kind of be aware of that. If you don't see it, it's not because FET deleted it, it's just probably not in the Lumio embed. Desmos is a really cool one too. That's a graphing calculator that's online. I don't use it, so I don't have a lot of experience with it. And then all of the areas where you see this purple AI with the star are your areas that you can use Lumio AI Assist to help you out. So let's say I want to make, my kids love Monster Quiz. I want to make a Monster Quiz for my kids to do to review before they start their assignment for the day. I'm going to open that up and it is loading.
I wanted to go ahead and just add while it's loading, Ashley, for those that are watching Ashley's screen and she's adding things in, right? Like the AI stuff, and you saw the FET and the Desmos. There's also the ability to embed, I believe, Book Creator and a couple of other options, but you can also add a link to any one of your Lumio slides and have your students go to that particular link if you have them you want to do something where it's not going to embed. There's also that option. So just want to remind you, you can app smash like Ashley has been with basically anything that's out there that you're using, right?
Yes, yes. Okay, so now it's loaded. So I'm going to make my monster quiz. I can just add what I want, right? If I click onto this tab where it says add/edit, I can just add my own questions. But if I want Lumio AI Assist to help me out, maybe with leveling the questions, or just I'm having brain fog and I can't figure out what questions I want to ask them, I can do that here. So I select the type. Let's keep it multiple choice. And I want to do grade 5. Let's just have it generate 5 questions for me. I'm going to go ahead and keep it at English. And so my kids have really been struggling with adding and subtracting fractions. It is a very difficult concept for 5th graders. So I'm going to give them a little bit more practice with that in a fun way to build them up. So adding and subtracting fractions with unlike denominators. Okay. I can select the strand and standard if you would like to. And then here's where I'm clicking that level, right? Maybe I want to start them off with 5 easy questions. As soon as I click that, I can click this generate button here, and it's going to start generating my questions for me. Right, and so now it's actually just talking about the steps, keeping it a little bit easier. Always use your best judgment with AI. It is a great tool, but sometimes it is wrong. So make sure that you read all of them. Make sure that the correct answer is actually the correct answer. It is a computer, so not everything is perfect. Ultimately, you're the judge, right? And I can go through and check my answers. Now, let's say I decide I don't like this question for whatever reason. I can just click delete question. It's going to keep all of my other ones for me. It's not going to delete the whole thing. Now, let's say I want to go back and create 5 more questions, but maybe I'm doing these for my advanced students. So I started them off easy and I want to get a little bit harder with the questions. I can change that to advanced and generate. Now, I do want to show you before I click generate, you can change the language, right? So if you if you have students that speak another language, you can change it here for them. This is an interesting thing that maybe, Tisha, you can give a little bit of feedback to. The abbreviations I've had to experiment with a little bit to figure out what is what. But let's say I do have that student, I'm pretty sure this is Arabic, and I want to give him those questions in his native language just so that he can access them a little bit better. Yes, that's Arabic. Okay. So it's going to pull those up and it has the questions, it has the answer choices. Obviously, I don't speak Arabic, so I can't check them. So that, maybe have somebody, like if you have a teacher that does speak whatever language you're translating it into, just kind of double check it real quick to make sure that it's correct. But I could not have generated 5 questions at an advanced math level in Arabic in 3 seconds. That would have taken me probably 45 minutes to do. So, y'all talked about time being the biggest constraint for you when it comes to differentiating and giving your kids accessibility. Look at how much time I just saved with just something that small. So I don't see the AI option on my dashboard. Let's see. Tisha, do you know why that might be?
Well, you may want to look to see what account plan you have. You want to make sure, I'm going to drop some links in there, okay, so that you can review that. I also, because we're coming up almost to the top of the hour, I just want to make sure, Ashley, are you okay with me sharing to all of our attendees here your Lumio teacher link, the one you started off with, the one you shared with them? Is that okay? They've been asking in the chat, so I want to do that. And then I'll go ahead and add a link here that gives you more information about Lumio AI Assist and Lumio Spark Plan. So I'm going to drop that link in the chat. And then because you guys have been so great, I'm going to go ahead and add the certificate link. Ashley, while you wrap up, I'm going to answer any other questions in the chat. And yes, Shannon, you can always sign up for beta. We can show you that, but what I can tell you is when you're logged into your Lumio account, you're going to look in the top right-hand corner. I believe you're going to click your your profile icon, and there's going to be a sign up for beta option if you haven't already.
Here, I can show her while we're at it real quick. So on your little, and it might be your initial instead, but I have my profile picture. Yes. When you click on that, it'll either say join Lumio beta or about Lumio beta. When you click on it, you'll just toggle it on. It'll read you some information, just yes to confirm, and then you click confirm. I'm already on the beta, so it's not going to show me that. But it's real easy. Click on beta, and then enable it from there.
Absolutely. Elizabeth, Liz, thank you so much. Ashley, you've got some fans in the chat. They really loved what you've shared, what you've done. You guys connect with Ashley. Her teacher link for her Lumio lesson is in the chat, as well as your survey link for your certificate. Make sure you fill those out. We would love for you to join our ambassador group. Ashley is an ambassador, along with Liz and Devin and Monica and many others who are here today. And I know they would love for you to join them. So I put that link in the chat. I also put the Facebook link in there. And if you want to join our Facebook link and group, make sure you're answering the questions so that we can approve you. You know, there's all kinds of spam over there on Facebook. We are so glad that you joined us today. And my call to action for all of you before you leave is to try one of the tools, one of the ideas that Ashley has shared. And if you would be so willing to take a screenshot of your computer or do a video, tag Lumio, tag me, tag Ashley, so we can see what you're creating. And I know, Ashley, they can reach out to you at any point with questions.
Absolutely.
Yep. She's in the Facebook group, so you can find her and tag her. She's also in the hub. She's shared with you all her socials. We just are so grateful for your leadership in this community of ambassadors, Ashley. Thank you so much for representing, taking time, and sharing with us today. Is there anything you want to tell all the newbies who came to your session today?
Thank you so much for doing what you do. Like, from one educator and a mom to another, it is a hard job. But you do it for a reason, right? You have a heart for it and you love your students and you love to see those aha moments, whether they're littles or bigs or adults. It's what empowers you. So keep doing that. Keep trekking on. I know not all of the days are easy, but take a breath, reset yourself, and keep doing it, because you're doing good work out there and setting us up to have a good future generation. So thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for everything you do. And we won't see you again. I won't see you again for a bit. We are going to have a January ambassador-led session with Liz. So you want to make sure you join for that. Every ambassador has something very unique. And I probably have a surprise to share with you, because I've been curating all of their amazing lessons to give you a head start in 2026. Thank you all again. And thank you, Ashley, so much. And we will see you all next time. Bye.
Bye.